And my name is Richard Hinton, and I am the manager of the YouthMappers Validation Hub. With me today are the members of the Validation Hub, two of whom will be leading the training today on Advanced JOSM. So for today's event, some previous JOSM knowledge is very, very handy to have because we are not going to explain the essentials and fundamentals of JOSM, but some more advanced tools. So the assumptions that you know a little bit more about JOSM. And these are some tools that we think are handy to use with everyday editing and contributing to various projects. Let's stop sharing my screen now. So throughout the presentation, there'll be a sort of explanation of various parts of the tools, and then this will be followed by a demo of the tools themselves. And at any time, if you have questions, please just put them in the chat. We're all here to answer your questions as they come up, but there'll also be times where we will pause. And if you have any questions and you want to voice them to us directly, then you're welcome to do so at that time. Before we get going, I'd like to have Paul and the Validation Hub to briefly introduce themselves. So I'll start with Naza.
Hi, everyone. I'm Naza. I'm a junior at the George Washington University in Washington, D.C., USA. I'm studying environmental science and minoring in public policy.
Excellent. Laura.
Hi, my name is Flora, and I also study geography at the George Washington University, and I've been a member of the Validation Hub since this summer.
Excellent. SB.
Hi, I'm SB. I am a second-year grad student in the geography department, and I have been with the Validation Hub since, I believe, April now.
Awesome. And last but not least, Kayla.
Hi guys, I'm Kayla. I am a senior at the GW Geography Department studying geography and environmental studies with a minor in GIS. And I've been with the Validation Hub since the spring.
Excellent. Thank you, folks. Again, a little reminder that we are going to record, or we are recording this session, and the recording and the presentation slides will be made available to you guys once the training has been completed. Okay, so you'll have access to all these materials afterwards. And with that, I think I will be quiet and mute myself, and I ask everybody to be muted while the presentation is going on, and hand it over to Naza and SB for the presentation today. Take it away, guys.
All right, well, I'm going to start this presentation. Let me share my screen. All right. All right, so my name is Naza. This is the YouthMappers Advanced JOSM training. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So the first thing that we're going to do is go through like a JOSM setup. So this, oh God. So I'm gonna first review some steps that everyone should do if you want to set up using JOSM. JOSM might look different for you if you have a Windows or a Mac computer. But all of the important tools that we're going to go over should be in the same place. Once you have JOSM downloaded, you need to sign in with your OSM username and account information so that all of your edits can be attributed to your OSM account. And as you can see in this GIF, it shows you the process of how to do that. If you've done our training, Intro to JOSM, you might have already seen this screen. We showed it to you guys then as well. And if you haven't, we'll share this the presentation with you guys afterwards as a reminder. The next thing that you need to do is set up remote control, which lets you connect to your selected projects in the tasking manager. And it lets you preload any custom imagery for a project you might be working on. And this is going to be in the preferences window. You're going to select remote control settings, click enable remote control, and then press OK, and keep the preferences window open. And you should be good to go after that. It'll prompt you to restart JOSM, and just click OK, and then it'll be fine. All right. So it's also really important to have a bunch of plugins downloaded, specifically the ones that I'm going to talk about right now, because we're going to review them and a lot of their abilities throughout this presentation. You can go through the entire list of plugins that are available on JOSM and look at what they do and choose what you think is right for you, and like experiment with it. But for this specific training, you're going to need the buildings tools plugin, the utils plugin 2, Mapathoner, and Fast Draw. When you go into JOSM, you can download these plugins by typing them into the search bar. Well, first you can find the plugin, the preferences window for the plugin icon, which is this puzzle piece right here. Then you can go type into the search bar, check the box next to the name of each plugin, and download the list. Again, it'll prompt you to update your JOSM if you need it. You don't necessarily have to do it, but you can if you want to. But then it'll prompt you to restart your JOSM again. And then you just download those. All right, now we're going to go on to some mapping features and tools of JOSM. So the tools and plugins covered in this presentation are listed here. We'll go through each one of them pretty in depth, and for each of these, we'll show you a demonstration in JOSM as well as explaining what they do. So if you want, you can follow along. Otherwise, enjoy the presentation. So the first we're going to go over is unglue and merge. You might have already used them, but if not, these are really helpful. The unglue tool can be found in the tools window or by using the G key on your keyboard. It's used to separate two connected nodes or ways that share common nodes. And it's really useful for detaching nodes that shouldn't be connected to each other, or a node that's connected to a way, or like it says here, the corner of a building. The next is merge nodes. This can also be found in the tools window or by pressing the M key on your keyboard. With the merge tool specifically, your order of selection matters. So if you select one node and then the other, whichever you select first will move to the second node. I'll show you in the demonstration, so it's a little easier to conceptualize, but just know that it's very finicky and your order of selection matters. And the object history of the oldest node is preserved. So it'll combine the history of those two nodes. Next is split and combine way. These may sound like unglue and merge, but they do different things, I promise. Split way can be used to create two ways from one, and this will happen on the node you select to divide the ways. So you can use the P key, or it also appears in that tools drop-down window. Like unglue, it makes two separate ways that are still connected on a node. You also have to make sure you select which way you want to separate if there's more than one way, like if there's a highway junction or something like that. There can be several ways, like in a junction. So you just want to make sure you're selecting the right one. Next, we're going to go through combine way. which does the exact opposite of split way. You can combine two ways onto a single node using the C key, or by looking in the tools drop-down bar, it should be there as well. It's important to know that the order of selection matters, like it did with the merge tool. So like it says here, you can't combine ways that don't share a node. So if you have one road and it looks like it should be connected to the other, but it isn't, you want to make sure that they have one node that's shared, and then you should be able to combine those ways. All right. Now I'm going to demo these tools in JOSM. The first thing that we're going to go through is split way. Where's my... All right, we're going to go through unglue nodes first. So if you see right here, we have two buildings, and they share this common node right here. And you know, buildings shouldn't usually be sharing nodes. It's not how they are in real life. You want to show that in JOSM. So you can see this error, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it, and you can see if I click and wiggle, that's the one that's connected. Then I'm going to go in my tools bar up at the top, click on it, and split way comes up right at the top. And this is the P key that I was talking about. Oh, sorry, not split way, unglue. Where is it? All right, right here, unglue ways, using the G key. I apologize. So you can just click that, and now what's going to happen is these are going to become two different nodes, and you can see I can put this right back to where it belongs, and now they're two separate nodes and two separate buildings. The next is merge. Merge can be used to combine two nodes. So for example, right here, we have this street, and it looks like it should probably be connected to each other. There's no dead space here in real life. So I'm going to click on the first node, and then I'm going to press my shift key, and I'm going to click on the second node. And then I'm going to go to tools, and we're going to go to merge nodes. Again, you can just press the M key on your keyboard. JOSM does this great thing where they'll put all of the shortcuts on the right side here. So you can see merge nodes, and it just says M. So you just hit the M key if you want that. And you can see it got pushed all the way to this node. This is the second one that I selected. Next, we're going to go to split ways. Right here. So split ways can be used to create two ways from one. Let's see if I can find. Okay. So let's just say I wanted this to be this right here, to be two different ways. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to select the node, and then I'm going to shift and select the way, and then I can press split way right here. or sorry, I select the two ways and then I can press split way right here. And these are already split. So you won't be able to see that, but if you want to say disconnect away from the building like it is right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the node, click on the way, press tools, split way. And you can see right here, it gave me an error. This way cannot be split at the selected nodes, and selected nodes are in the middle of the way. That's because I selected the end node right here. So what you can do instead right here is click on the node, tools, and like we did before, unglue ways. So, give me 1 second. My mouse has stopped working. All right. These should now be two different nodes right here. Next, we're going to go into combine ways. Ooh. Let's say I wanted to combine this way right here with this one right here for some reason, because they're in the same parking lot. Sure. They share a node right here, which is great. So I'm going to click one of them, press shift, click the other, and then I'm going to go into tools and right here, combine way. Could not combine way because there's a merge in a single string of nodes. As a reminder, you want to make sure it's at the end node right here. I'm just going to delete this node for purposes. And now this looks like it should be connected. So press combine way, and you can see now when I click on it, this is one complete road. All right, and I'll stop here if there are any questions. Otherwise, we can just get back to the presentation. All right, the next tool that we're going to go through is nodes at intersections and multi-polygons. So you can add nodes at an intersection where a node might be missing. This tool actually comes through the utils plugin too. As we mentioned earlier, it's one of those plugins that we recommend you download. This specific tool can be found under the More Tools menu or by pressing the Shift key and the I key together. Once you've selected both of your ways that you want to share a node, you would hit Shift and I, and then there would be a node created for you between them. Another really cool tool is Create Multi-Polygon. Sometimes this takes a building that is a square and it might have like a courtyard in the middle of it. And if you outline both the building and the courtyard in the middle, you can select both of the polygons that you've created. So select one, hit shift, select the next one. And under the tools section, under the more tools section, there will be a create polygon icon, or you can hit Control B. If you do this, JOSM will relate the two ways and make it into one building instead of two separate squares, one within the other. So it's really cool, and it's a really easy way to create multi-polygons. Next, we're going to do is replace geometry. This is also part of the utils plugin too. It can replace the geometry of one object for another, but it still retains as much of the metadata and history as possible. So it'll retain the tags as well, which is great. You don't have to worry about that. So ways you can use this is if you're mapping and you see a building with way too many nodes, that is way too messy for you to fix. You can replace that object without deleting the work of the mapper who did the object in the first place. So once you select both the old and the new object, you can press Control Shift or find it in the drop-down menu, and it'll replace that. It'll replace the old one with the new one. Right. JOSM, and one thing to know is JOSM will know which object is newer, so you don't have to worry about selecting which one comes first, because it'll take the tags from the old one and override them onto the new one you just created, which is really cool. Next, we're going to talk about using auxiliary lines, specifically for projecting portions of a building. It's not a specific tool, but it is a useful strategy to know when you are mapping. So when you have two or more extrusions coming out of a building or an object, and you think they should be aligned to each other, a lot of the times when you're doing it by hand, it's really difficult to judge distance, and you might not get it completely perfect. So you can draw an extra line between two nodes, and then press your Q key, or find in the drop-down menu, it should be orthogonized shape. It's going to be a lot easier to see in the demonstration, but you can also see in this GIF here how they do it. And I'll show you in the demonstration, and it'll be a little easier to conceptualize. Next, we're going to talk about align buildings. This is another trick that's similar to using auxiliary lines. Not a tool, but it's definitely useful to know. If you have a lot of similar buildings, let's say they're in a neighborhood and on the same street, and you think they should be aligned, you can align them by clicking on all of the buildings. So clicking one, press Shift, and clicking all the others. And you want to pick two reference nodes. So if you see at the end of this GIF here, they click two reference nodes that they want to align all of the buildings to. And it'll straighten those buildings and it'll square those buildings, and align all those buildings to those nodes. Okay. Next, we're going to go through the validation tool. So this tool also comes with JOSM. I'll give you a brief overview of it, but we do have a training coming up in a month where we'll go more into depth about validation and how to do it and how to, just how to validate. But it's also super useful if you want to find errors in your work, especially if you're mapping a larger area. And you want to check your work before you upload it. Like it says here, it organizes any issues and categorizes them into errors, warnings, and other. Errors are going to be your highest priority. Usually that's something super wrong that you want to fix. Warnings, medium priority, and other lower priority. Sometimes it's good to note that sometimes you'll have an error that you can't solve unless you have local knowledge. I know personally, I run into a lot with warnings for unnamed ways. But if I'm mapping in some place, I might not have that local knowledge of what that street is called. I probably wouldn't unless it was my hometown. So usually in that case, you can ignore those warnings because it's something that you can't fix. without that local knowledge. But keep that in mind when you run the tool, because you probably won't be able to fix every single error that it highlights. All right, let me go back to JOSM. All right. And the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to show you right here how to split this way, or not split this way. Sorry, I'm on the wrong demonstration. I'm going to show you auxiliary lines first. This is, remember, this is the helpful trick that I talked to you about. So as you can see here, we have this building. It's a little crooked, and probably these extrusions should be aligned to each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press all the way on the left tab over here. It says draw nodes, this line. So I've clicked it. You can see my cursor has now turned into that cross section. I'm going to click on the first node, and then click on the second node, hit escape, go back to the select tool, select the building, and then press shift, select that way that I just created, and press the Q key on your keyboard. You can see it squared it for you, and it aligned these nodes right here. A lot of times what will happen is it might be askew a little bit. You can see it is right here. So we can just fix that real quick. Sorry about this, guys. My mouse seems not to work. So once you're done with that, you can click on your auxiliary line that you just created and delete that since unnecessary. And yeah, now you have that perfectly aligned building. So next I'll show you align buildings and nodes. So if you see here, we have a bunch of these buildings, and they look like they're about in line with each other, but they weren't mapped that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click one of them. We'll start with this one here. Click it, now highlighted, press shift. I'm going to click all of these buildings right here. And let's say I want to align them to these two nodes. So I'm going to press shift and click on that node and click on that node. So now I will press the Q key, and you can see they all got squared and they all got aligned to that same node. Now you might find, not a perfect tool, so you might find like this building right here, it got misaligned a little bit. You can just go in after and realign it if you need to. And then if you want to realign it with those two nodes again, you can select it, select those two nodes, press Q, and it's perfect now. All right. Next, I'm going to go through the validation tool. So if you see on my right-hand bar over here, there's this validation tool. All right. Maximize this. I've already run it once, but what you can do is usually this is blank, and you're going to press this check mark right here where it says validate, and it'll load up, and it'll show you all of the errors that's happening in your square. And you can see right here we have one big error. Click that. It says building with duplicated nodes. Okay, so we can try to fix that. We're gonna click this arrow right here, so that drop down menu, and it says 2 nodes, and then it gives the names of the nodes. I don't know where those are, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click it, right click, and press zoom to problem, and it'll take me right there. So, and it's highlighted it perfectly right here, that red highlight. So what this is saying is that there's 2 nodes when there should be 1. So what we can do, you can see, yeah, there's 1 node right on top of the other. And it looks like this node is kind of unnecessary, so we can just delete it. Now it's perfect. They should have the same history because they are the same building, but you want to be careful when you use that. Because if it's in a way, for example, it might have important history. And now you can see we have 22 warnings and 19 other issues. You can look through all of these. This is what I was talking about right here with the unnamed ways. I don't have local knowledge of this place, so I can't really fix any of those. But there's other stuff that I can fix, like crossing building and highways. So this is just really useful if you are going through your work and you want to make sure you have no errors, or you want to make sure everything is okay in your square before you submit it for validation. Right. Next, I'm going to do replace geometry right here. Turn off validation. So you can see right here, I have this building. It has way more nodes than necessary. And let's say I want to replace it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the building and just move it over a little bit. Doesn't really matter where you move it. And I'm just going to trace this building and draw it. Press. And now that I've drawn that building, you can see this looks a lot better, has way less nodes. So I'm going to click on both of them. Order of selection does not matter with this tool because it'll know which one is the oldest. Go down to tools, or more tools, I believe. Yeah, more tools up here. It's the right at the top. It's the one next to the tools bar. And replace geometry. And you can see they gave the shortcut here, Command Shift G. I have a Mac, so it's Command for me. If you have a Windows, it should be Control. And just press that. And you can see it gave me an error. You're about to combine 2 objects, but there's some conflicting information. So do you want to continue? I'm going to press yes. And now all of the tags from that old building should be on here. And as you can see, we have building equals yes and the source from the old building. I'm going to go through. All right, I'm going to go through nodes at intersections and multi-polygons. First, we're going to go through nodes at intersections. If you look at this intersection right here, you might see, okay, there should be a node here probably. So what we're going to do is we're going to press our shift key, click both of those nodes, click both of these ways, go up to tools, and oh, should be more tools. Add nodes at intersection. And like I said, this is Shift I. And you can see that node was created. JOSM knows where 2 nodes that you're selecting intersects. So it'll make that perfect node in the middle right there for you. So you don't have to worry about that. And then we're going to go through multi-polygons. So I'm going to use this as an example. use a little bit of your imagination while I go through this. We have this building here. Let's say this blue square in the middle is the courtyard. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the buildings tool in my left hand bar, and I'm going to just map out that building or that courtyard. Just align that a little bit. And then I'm going to click both. I'm going to select both of the multi-polygon or both of the polygons I've created. Go into tools or more tools. It's in tools, and you're going to go down to the bottom. It says create multi-polygon, or you can press Command B or Control B if you have a Windows. And you can see here now, when I click on the outer one, this is all pink and aligned in. And let's say I want to make sure that they're aligned to each other. Just press Q. You'll be able to press Q. Yep, there we go. And they've aligned to each other. So yeah, it's really cool because when you have those courtyards or anything, you know, you need the multi-polygon, and it's just an easier way to do it than mapping each individual side of the building. All right, any questions? All right, then I'm gonna go back to our presentation. And now we're gonna go through Markstein Viewer. So we're switching our focus now. The rest of the presentation is going to be on mainly useful plugins that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. Should be all those plugins. So if you missed it at the beginning, don't worry about it. We'll send you guys the slides afterwards, and you can reference it later on. So Markstein Viewer is a plugin that basically, it has a square and a map, and it'll show you exactly which areas in your task that you viewed. And when you move around, the square moves around, and it'll highlight the areas you've already seen. It's super useful when you're working on larger projects, or maybe projects that have a lot of density to them. You can make sure you've covered every part of your task. And so you don't go over an area multiple times or leave an area unchecked. You can access it through the right panel in JOSM. I'll show you guys in the demo later. Next is the search function. So the search function is not a plugin, but it is a very useful tool that not many people use, mainly because it can be a little intimidating, but it's a really helpful tool that you should probably use if you want to. So you can use it to look for a specific feature or tag. The search function will select all of the nodes in your task, or select all of the ways in your task when you search for a value. To use it, you want to use the key equals value tags. For example, one that you guys are really familiar with, or should be, building equals yes, or type colon node. So you can search by the type of feature, like picking out all of the nodes in a task. And if you want to select every node in the task that you're looking at, it'll select all of them in your downloaded area. To bring up the search function, you can use Control F, or using the magnifying glass icon at the top, or by pressing Edit and then Search. I'll show you guys all of this, all three of these ways to pull up the search bar And yeah. This is an example of what the search bar will look like once you pull it up in JOSM. You can see on the right here, if you follow my mouse, there's search by preset. So you can search by one of JOSM's presets. So you don't even have to type anything in. If you're looking for, like it says here, annotation address, you can just click on it, press search, and it'll select all of the nodes or ways that have that tag associated with them. So, and in the middle right here, there's this hints bar. This is just a couple helpful hints on how to type things in the search bar. The search tool is very picky and finicky about what you type into the bar. And just like a slight change, any slight changes might change what it thinks you want. So these hints are really useful in making sure you have the right values and the right like names of stuff. So over here, there's this results tab. You can pick what you want to do, whether you want to just select all of, let's say we're selecting all buildings with 4 nodes. You can either just press select, or if you want to add something to the section, remove it from the selection, or just find it. You can pick that on the left-hand side here. And yeah, up here is the search box where you're going to type everything in. And then you just press search once you're done typing in your command. So this is just a couple search function examples of some searches that you can do in JOSM. Not a lot of people know how to use the search function. So this helps break down a little bit those tricky differences that I talked about a little earlier. So you can see how a slight difference can impact your search results. Like if I go up here to name, when it has the name, if I use a colon here, what it's going to do is select all the elements with this given name. However, if I use an equal sign, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to select all the elements with the given name, but it's going to select only those elements that have that capital H. So it's case sensitive. As I said, you can search by the type of feature, the name of feature, the name of features, addresses, special values, and so much more. So if you have special characters, like this address, so Baker Street, you want to make sure you use, it's enclosed in something, whether that's parentheses or quotation marks. Usually it's quotation marks. So yeah, you can search by JOSM presets, what you selected, and or the amount of building nodes. And I'll show you that in just a second. Okay. All right. So for the last demo, I'll just show you guys the 2 tools that we just reviewed, the mark screen viewer and the search function. So first, the mark screen viewer. So you can go to edit. Wait, select everything. And sometimes everyone gets confused. So you see this search icon. Oh, that's not the right one. Oh, mark scene viewer. You go down here. On the left-hand side, there's this tab. Usually the mark scene viewer shows up in your right-hand side over here. But for me right now, it's not showing it, and that's fine. So I'm going to go down to the bottom left and you see this pink box right here. I'm going to press it. You can see it shows what exactly I've seen. You can also go to view, right here, mark scene. And right now it's set to record scene areas. So if you look at the bottom right, there's this tiny pink box. And as I move my screen around, that box moves and it highlights the areas that I've already seen. So you can see right here. It's really useful if you want to just make sure that you've checked every single area. And if you want to clear it, you can either press this button right here. It has that little brush in front of it. Clear record of scene areas, or you can go to at the top, view, mark scene, and clear. Both of these options will work. One important thing to note about the mark scene viewer is that if you're set max viewpoint size from the current port, if you're zoomed out too much and you're not in your viewport size, it won't allow you to record anything. So if I zoom out a little bit more. All right, I've zoomed out. This is my task right here. But as you can see, I've zoomed out too much. So the mark scene viewer now has this X in the box. So if I just zoom back in a little bit, it shows you, okay, well, seen that much. And I can always clear if I need to. The next we're going to do is the search function, which you can press the search bar right here, that magnifying glass. Or you can go to edit and go down to search. I already have it pulled up, so I'll show you. Edit and search. And Control F or Command F if you're on a Mac. That's how you pull it up with the shortcut. So I'll show you guys a few examples. But this is the same search bar that you saw in the presentation just a minute ago. So let's say I want to select all of the buildings in my task that have 4 nodes. So delete that. I'm going to write building. And you can see I've already done this before, but building nodes, :4. Now, this is going to do exactly what I said, and it should highlight all of the buildings that have only 4 nodes. Press search. It's done that. You can see we have one right here. We have a couple right here. So these only have 4 nodes versus this one, which has a couple more. It didn't select it, and it only selects those with that specific amount of nodes that you wanted. So yeah, I think the search function is really cool. If you wanted to search by like a specific name of something, show you up here. All right, we have right here this street called Jenkins Street. I'm gonna click on it. I'm gonna go to the search bar. What I'm gonna do is go search. And sometimes we also forget. There we go. So like I said before, it's that name. And I don't want to be case sensitive, so I'm going to use that colon and put it in quotation marks, Jenkins Road. And this should theoretically highlight any roads named Jenkins Road, should be that one. I can press search. Oh, but we've encountered a problem. This is called Jenkins Street. So you got to be careful with that. So street, I'll change that to Jenkins Street, press search. And now it's selected that road for us. I'll open it up to any questions again. If not, I'm going to hand it off to SB.
You're on mute, SB.
Okay, thank you, unmute.
Thank you, guys. Sorry. So I wanted to say thank you, Naza, for the first part of the presentation. And as she already mentioned, a lot of the rest of it is going to be plugins and tools that are very helpful. So the first one is relations and goes hand in hand with multi-polygons, which Naza has already discussed several times. So relations is a type of object that contains a group of other objects, whether that be points, lines, polygons, and it's used to represent anything that requires more than just one object. So as we've already discussed, would be a building with an inner courtyard. And that is probably my favorite thing to draw. So the four main types of relations in OSM are multi-polygons, roots, boundaries, restrictions. We will be, of course, focusing mostly on multi-polygons. So if you want to go to the next slide. All right. So Naza has already discussed how to draw and outline multi-polygons, but I will give you another one with a circular courtyard inside. So first thing you will do is either draw or trace the building exterior and then the interior, but it doesn't actually matter what order it goes in. And then you're going to select all polygons. You're going to go to tools, and then you're going to create a multi-polygon. And with that, you want to make sure that the tag is type multi-polygon, but you also want to make sure that it is a building if that is what you are choosing, or if that is what you are mapping. So I will demonstrate that when we get to the JOSM example. So if you want to continue to go, next slide. All right. So relations editor window. So like I mentioned already, you want to make sure that you add the tag of building in case it's missing. And you want to look at the relation, which will also show multi-polygon. So just want to make sure everything is tagged and ID'd and identified correctly with that. So then once you click OK, once you have the tagging done, then you'll have an object, which is a building with either two courtyards, one courtyard, a circular courtyard, whatever you have decided to map. And yeah, next one. Next tool will be the plugin Mapathoner. So we talked about adding that plugin from the beginning. So Mapathoner is a plugin that is a tool to create and improve multiple, is a tool to make creating and improving multiple buildings easier for mappers. It's honestly probably one that a lot of us in the Validation Hub use consistently. So the tools include batch circle building, batch orthogonal building, batch L-shaped building, and also has options to pick residential area, select duplicate buildings, and select non-orthogonal buildings. Next slide. All right, so to find these, I will demonstrate all once we get to JOSM, I promise. But you're gonna want to, if you don't have it plugged in, you're gonna want to go to your preferences, which then you will go to plugins and then search Mapathoner. And then when installed, it'll be located at the top of your ribbon on the screen near the right end of your toolbar next to imagery, windows, and audio. So it's going to be up there at the very, very top, not just your top of your toolbar in JOSM. All right. So yes, the batch tool helps you map multiple structures of the same shape at one time. So if you have consistently like rectangular buildings near one another or orthogonal, it'll be an opportunity instead of having to trace each one individually. It makes it so that you have one big tracing and then you ask Mapathonner to batch orthogonal building, and it'll create each individual rectangle. And that goes for also circular buildings and L-shaped buildings, but orthogonal is probably the most commonly used for that. So absolutely, and then we can keep going. All right, so the select tools are really great, which they select from your total downloaded area that you want, or if you have a specific selected area that you want to be investigated for mapping issues. And so like one will be select duplicate buildings. And so any buildings that overlap more than 50% with another building are selected, which could be a potential problem later on. So it's great for catching those. Select non-orthogonal buildings. All buildings that are almost orthogonal are selected, and then you can go investigate whether they need to be made orthogonal or if that's their shape. And then, of course, also select non-rounded buildings, which all the buildings that are almost circular are selected. So it's a very handy tool for when you are doing these large mapping areas that may have a lot of overlap, may have a lot of repetition. It's great to go back to make sure that everything's kind of as clean as you can get it to be. So yeah, next slide. All right, FastDraw. This is a very interesting plugin. And again, we'll go over making sure you have the plugin installed once we get there. So it's a plugin that makes it easier to draw large, complex shapes, such as lakes or forest areas, or even like agricultural land, depending on if it's like a rural community. So yes, once installed, you'll be found under mode menu items. So also be located near the drawing tool and buildings, and I will demonstrate that once we get there. So you have multiple ways to actually use the FastDraw tool, but the easiest way to do it is for tracing, which you're going to make one initial click just to show where you'll be doing the tracing, and then you're going to hold down your space bar or left mouse button and trace the area that you want to trace. Kind of just do one continuous tracing outline, and then once you're done, and if you want to collect the final nodes together, then you will hit enter to end the tracing. If you did not like the final node or the previous node, you can use backspace to delete it. And also the up and down arrows on your keyboard will be able to either add or detract nodes from your trace feature. So the up one adds them, and the downwards detracts. So in case you want to go back and fix one section of the tracing that you didn't really like, excuse me, my voice is coming out in and out. But yes, in case you want to go to somewhere that you didn't like or it needs to be redone, it allows you to add or take back those nodes. And then once you're finally finished with that, you'll enter again to finish the feature totally. All right, next slide. Or is that JOSM time? Okay, yeah, so this is just what I said first. So the first round, after you have done your initial tracing and you hit enter the first time, you will get this yellow line, these yellow lines. And then if you do enter the second time, which completes the feature, will get the red nodes and the way that come with it. So the yellow is kind of like the first initial one in case checking if there's any problems that need to be addressed before you can officially turn it into the feature. So those are about our lovely plugin. Okay, exciting. So I will now take over for sharing my screen. Let me get it pulled up. All right. So there we go. All right, can everyone see my screen? Okay. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so we will be starting with multi-polygon, and like I said, Naza already showed it. So I'm just going to do another quick demo, just different shapes available. And I do not have any multi-polygons that need to be made right here. So I will be doing it over here in this empty space. This is just simply for demonstration purposes, and I will not be uploading any of this data. So first off, let me go to my mode for my zoom mode so I can come down to this area. There we go. Okay, this is an empty place for this to do. And I actually will be turning off my imagery so you can just see the shapes being made. I'm going to move this over really quickly. Okay, so I'm going to come up here to imagery, or no, I'm not coming up to imagery. I'm coming over to my layers on the right side of my screen, which will be able, stop. Sorry, I'm trying to manage the zoom and other things. So I can see everything. There we go. So I'm going to come to layers over here, and I am just going to turn off my Bing imagery so that you don't see anything extra. Just that way I can demonstrate without having any other things to maybe look at. So I'm gonna come here. I'm gonna draw just a simple rectangular building over here for polygon. So what I actually did was I just hit B, which is how you get building, but you can also come over here to tools right here with all the other tools such as the line draw and the fast draw. And you can also just click the building right here. So that'll allow you, but you have options. And if you come here, then I'm going to click and make another little building inside of here. There we go. Okay, so that's your little courtyard. You're going to hit select, which is just S on the keyboard, but you can also come here and hit select mode up at the very top of the ribbon with your keypad. And so then you're going to come here, you're going to select, and you want to hit command so you can select again. That way you have both selected at the same time. And you're going to go back up to tools right next to mode, and you're going to hit create multi-polygon. There we go. And so as I mentioned already with relations, you want to come over here to what says relations with this panel on the right side. And it's going to say multi-polygon building 2 members. That's correct. And then the tag is building yes. So that's all good. So quickly, I'm just going to go back and delete this one so that I can draw another one. Or I'll just hit B again. B. It's for building, and a nice, another lovely little rectangular building. And then because I cannot create a circle with the building tool, I will come up to draw right on the left side, click on this line feature, or it is A on your keyboard. And I'm going to make a little triangle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, once you make that triangle, it's selected, it's in red. You can come up here to tools and you will hit create circle. There you go. Perfect. So now you're going to command S and select the, you're going to S, sorry, go back. I don't want an extra dot there. You're going to select the outer rectangle, and then you're going to command so that you can select the inner circle, and you're going to go back to tools, and you are going to create multi-polygon. So there you have a building, which is a multi-polygon with a circular courtyard this time. And again, in the relation, it says building 2 members, which is correct, type polygon. And you want to make sure also that no, it is a building as well. So we're all good here for the multi-polygon. I will just quickly gonna come up here to mode, delete mode, get rid of these. There we go. Just hit OK. These are only for demonstration. All right, and I'm going to turn my imagery back on for our Mapathoner tool. So hopefully by now we should have the plugin added already, but just in case, again, if you come over here to the top ribbon right next to this magnifying glass, if you come to these 2 little buttons and go down to this blue puzzle piece and look up Mapathoner,
Can't
That's
see
great.
your pop-up window. SB, we can't see the pop-up window.
Oh. Okay. Interesting. So can you see right here? None of,
Yes, yep, the preferences button, but we can't see the preferences window pop up.
okay. Yeah, it's not showing. Interesting.
That's all right. I think most people
That's
know.
okay. We are ready. So as long as you go to the
Yeah, yeah.
preferences, go in there, it's fine. So anyway, so once you have that installed, it shows up right here next to Windows, Mapathon. And I will come and demonstrate all of them. So I'm going to come back here, zoom mode, zoom right in here. Okay, so here are about 5 houses that are all similarly shaped. And so the first one I am going to start with is actually the orthogonal one. So when you are trying to use a Mapathon one, you're going to use the line tool up here, which is again is A. For orthogonal or rectangular shapes, you are going to need at least 3 points or have the points be divisible by 3. So I'm going to make 3 just quickly outline points, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to come across to this building right next to it. 1, 2, 3. And again, just 1, 2, 3, one more, 1, 2, 3. And so you don't need to double click or close anything. You're simply going to come up here to Mapathon right next to Windows, and you're going to hit batch orthogonal building. And there you go. You should have 4 rectangles or orthogonal buildings that you just were able to quickly make with simple clicks. All right, now we are going to do, just delete them. We are going to do a row of circular buildings, which none of these are, but I will demonstrate it. So we are gonna only actually need 2 points or points for each building. So as if you would do like their diameter of a circle is what you would essentially be measuring. So you do 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, again, no closing, no entering anything, just come up to Mapathon and batch circle building. There you go. Which, as you can see, these ones, they're not actually meant to be circles, so they're overlapping, but that is in theory how that would work if you had multiples of circular buildings that you wanted to map right next to each other. All right, so then I will show you L-shaped ones, which can be a little funky at times, but I'll be using these 2 buildings right next to each other. And again, come up to this line draw feature, which is A on the keyboard. And for L-shaped, you will actually need 4, at least minimum of 4 points or divisible by 4. So I'm going to map 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to come down to this one right next to it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And kind of try to make sure it looks somewhat like you can get the L shape from it. Come up to Windows, batch, L shape. And there you go. You have your L-shaped buildings done. So that is how those work for creating with the Mapathon tool. And just quickly, I will show you how the other tools will work. So for pick residential area, this one has a great way of identifying where a residential areas might be within your mapping area in your square. So as you can see, this one has selected all of this area and outside, which contains mostly residential places. And then it also, if we come back in, we can use the select duplicate buildings, which there are none, which is good. That means more than 50% are overlapping. search non-orthogonal buildings, which there are a few for people to go over, and then select non-rounded buildings. And of which there are not, or there's one. So those are just the basic ways that you can use Mappathonner, but it's really, really great, especially for the batch tools, for the different multiple buildings. So finishing off with our fast draw tool, we will, let me zoom in again, go to zoom mode, and I will be lightly mapping this, I guess like wooded, forested land, agricultural. And so just gonna move my toolbar out of the way. There we go. Again, how we make sure that you're fast draw. So there should be this little pencil that is on your toolbar right under buildings. That's how you know you have fast draw. So if you want to select fast draw, come over to the area. I'm just gonna start down here close to the very point out the outer edge of the green area. I'm gonna click once, and then I'm gonna press down my space bar, and that's gonna allow me to trace just freehand with it. And so it's not gonna be the prettiest all the time, but it works. And there we go. And yeah, try to be careful with the boundaries that you're passing by. I'm just going to cut it off short here. And sometimes the delay will create some interesting lines. There we go. So I'm going to hit enter once. See, and that's how you get the first round. If I didn't like my last point, my last node, I could hit delete, and that would take it away and still have that connection. I'm gonna return that though. And then I could also get rid of ones I don't like. Sorry, there we go. Go back to enter in worst case scenario, and using my up and down arrows, you can see there's some nodes that are being added that I could go then and move around with select, move them around so that it better fits. Not that one. You can see I came in a little too close to the road here. And I would have to include that one, but if not, we can hit enter and you'd get this red line, which actually makes it a full feature and has all the nodes included and the ways. So that is how you get to fast draw. Do have to play around with it a couple times, but it is a very handy tool for large complex ones that would take forever just drawing by one node. So I'm going to quickly just delete this one. There we go. All right, that is the end of fast draw, Mappathonner, and multi-polygons. Are there any questions I can answer right now? Good. All right, well, I will stop sharing then. Okay, so if there's no other questions, thank you guys so much for coming out. We really appreciate it. I hope that you guys were able to learn something interesting today, and we'll start to integrate some of these tools into your mapping. And as we've already said, these will be sent out after we end this. So all of it's recorded. And yeah, thank you guys so much. And hopefully you will join us for their future events that we will be doing.
All right, thank you, Naza, SB. At the end of the presentation, is there a list of links or anything like that? I think there might be, right? Yeah, can you throw those up real quick? We can finish out the presentation. So that one of you guys can post it up So at the end of the presentation, you guys will have access to, there are some handy links and information there. Don't you guys have that handy? There we go. So yeah, so some resources there to continue your learning. Of course, if you have questions, you're welcome to reach out to us. We have some handy links here from Learn OSM, from missing maps and the wikis and whatnot that are available. So lots of good resources out there. We try to compile some of these to make it easy for you guys to find. But yeah, that sort of concludes our training for today. Are there any questions from the few but brave that showed up today? No questions? All right. As we was just saying, we will get the recording and the slide presentation out to everybody that registered, hopefully within the next week. And I'll be working with the YouthMappers communications people to get that taken care of. And reminder that we will have another training on November 10th, I believe it is, and that one will be on validation. So hope between now and then, you will be able to use some of these tools, get some practice on it. And then for the next presentation, we'll be using JOSM as a tool for validation itself. We'll take you to the walkthrough and the workflow of the actual validation process when working in OSM. Okay. So thank you very much, everybody, for showing up today. Thank you again, NASA and SB. Great work. And we hope to see you guys all again very, very soon. Have a great weekend and be safe.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Could we